Hey there everyone, I wanted to share a project that I've been working on and I'm really excited about. It's going to sound a little bit like a sales pitch, but rest assured this is not going to be for sale. It's going to be open source and free. If anything, I might just ask for support for server costs. So to introduce what this app is all about, I want you to think about what are the things in your life that you really care about. The things that you spend a lot of time on, the things that you track information about. How do you track that information? This might be things like sports, hobbies, family events, health, to-dos, projects. How do you track the information for these things that matter to you? So apps on your phone is a common answer today. And these apps can have a lot of great features and interactivity. But there's a few downsides of these apps. One downside is they're rigid. They have certain features that the app creators have set up, but they may not fit exactly what you need. Second, they may be expensive. There may be subscriptions that you feel like are more expensive than the app is worth. Or you might have intrusive ads, frustrating ads to use it. Finally, you might be getting your data used in ways that you don't agree to and you're not okay with. The apps are used for surveillance. So these are all problems with using apps to track our personal information. What's another option? Spreadsheets. This has been a classic option, and on desktop or on a laptop, spreadsheets work really well. The problem is we have our phones with us all the time and we're not usually at a computer. When we're out doing life with the things that matter to us, that's when we need to be able to have access to this information. And spreadsheets are difficult to work with at best on most size mobile phones. So you have the option of only being able to work with your information when you're at a computer or having a limited experience on the phone. The other option is to take it more manual. Track this information in notes, maybe on paper, maybe in a note-taking app. At that point, though, the computer has no knowledge of what the information is and it can't help you. You have to do all the management of your information yourself, and it can be time-intensive and labor-intensive. Even if you use an app like Obsidian that has configurable plugins that go in and try to work with your notes and be intelligent about them, it's still limited what they can do. In the end, it's still just text, still just notes. So none of these options are great, and that's why I've been working on an alternative, and I'd love to introduce it to you now. I don't have a name for it yet, so I'm just calling it List App. There's another app called List App, so I do need to change the name to something else. So let's take a look at it. List App is a way to track your personal information. It offers a great experience on both mobile and on web. Anywhere you are, your data is there. It intelligently helps you work with your information the way you want to. And I'm not talking about artificial intelligence, I'm talking about your human intelligence to configure it in simple ways that work for you so the computer, the software knows what to do with your information. It's going to be open source with no surveillance or ads. It's free to host and free to extend it in ways that you like. I'm going to talk more about that shortly. First off, though, let's take a look at some things that I'm tracking in the app. There's several apps that I've used in other ways before, but I've been able to replace what I use there with List App because of how powerful it is. So let's take a look. First of all, we have LifeLog. LifeLog is a way to just track locations that you go to so you can keep track of what you've been doing in life. When I pull it up on any of the platforms here, you can see that Starbucks is where I've been this month. On a large viewports, like on a large web browser, you can scroll left and right to see different columns this month, past months. But on mobile, it snaps to just one column, so you can kind of easily just focus on one at a time for a better user experience there. So when I pull up a card, I get details on this location. So here's the geolocation of the Starbucks that I went to with the name, and I can describe an event. Maybe it's a date with one of my kids. Other information like check-in time. And all the fields on here are totally configurable. As an end user, I've set these up the way I like. So if you'd like to add another field, you can just do it. You can click on the wrench icon up here. You get a list of your fields. You can click on Add Element. You say, I want a field. Maybe we call it Notes. And it's data type text, and it's multiple lines. I'm going to be working on the user experience of this configuration here to make it as simple as possible. But once I save this and click the check mark, I've now got a notes field. I got a mocha frappuccino, which I'm sure is spelled wrong. Now when I back out of here, that new field is tracked and the information is there. And if I pull things up on another browser, when I kind of come up and click into it, the app detects that the data is stale, and so when I pull it up again, the latest information, the latest fields, and the latest data all show up here just fine. So you can rapidly work with the application to track your information like that. Let's take a look at another app that I've set up. Next, let's look at to-dos. To-dos are huge for me. I live out of my to-do list. And so I've configured these to-dos just the way that works for me. So I have an available column for the things that I can focus on right now, and I have them grouped by time of day, day or evening. If I pull one up here, you can see I also have morning and after kids are in bed. Now, because List App is totally configurable, you can change the values here to the way you organize your day. Or you can have a different kind of categorization or something, multiple fields, whatever works for you. So in here, we have this column grouped by time of day. So I see my daytime things in one place, and I see my evening things that are coming up that I'm not timed for yet. I can see them that way. Different columns are grouped differently. So my future column is grouped by the date that it's deferred until. Another thing you can do in List App is it's not just for tracking information, but you configure actions as well. So I can go into here. I've configured a simple complete button. So when I click on it, the task is marked as complete, and it goes out of that column into the completed column. When I click on it, it's recorded the completed at date that I completed it on. And I set up an uncomplete button so I can click on that if I made a mistake, and it goes back to the current day. I can also defer things. So let's defer cleaning my office desk. I set up my defer menu to be 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and 1 week, because those are values that are helpful for me. So instead of having to type in a date or choose it from the list, I can just quickly get this action. So I can say, we're going to leave cleaning the office desk for 3 days. Now it's gone over here until Monday. I can click it again and defer it another day if I want. Now it's gone until Tuesday. So you can see that we can set up these sophisticated buttons with just a little bit of simple configuration in order to set up these actions. Let's take a look at how that works. So on the complete button, when I edit it, again, the interface is a bit complicated at this point, but I can say, set the value of the completed at field to now. Also for the defer is a button menu. So in there I have multiple menu options. So I say the 1 day button adds days to the defer until field, 1 day. 2 days option adds 2 days, and I can configure it however I like. So let's look at one more app on here. One more board, I should say, but it replaces apps. This one is links. So if you go in here, this is a way that I keep track of links that I need to read. Ones that I haven't read yet and ones that I have read. So you see I have a number of them on here. I can just click on the link to pull up the page in a new browser window, or on mobile, it's going to pull it up in my browser app. Oops, it's running a little bit slow. There it goes. Probably my internet connection. All right, so if we pull this up, we can see here more information. I can track. I decided that I would like to track the source of who told me about a link or what social media posts I found out about it from. It's all helpful. I can mark it as read when I'm done. Then it goes over into the read column, and I can mark it as unread. I can do some sophisticated sorting as well. So here I've set it up so I have a read status changed at date. And so whenever I click something read or unread, I set that field so it shows up. Well, in this case, it seems like it's not showed up at the top of the list. Maybe something I haven't set up quite right. But yeah, so something else is that this platform is made to be totally extensible. And so although this isn't built into List App, I've set up a sharing extension that I can use here. So if I'm in Safari or any other app on my phone, I can use this extension. Oh, where's it gone? Well, it's not working right now. But I've set up an extension that I can use to share into it so that that app shows up from this list here. Let me go close it and reopen it real quick. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, here it is. So I have this share extension. I call it Hydrant. I've adapted it over from another app I've used in the past. And when I pull it up in here, I'm able to take whatever I'm viewing, whatever URL I'm viewing in an app, anywhere in iPhone, post it, and the link is saved. So if I now click back into the app on any platform, that link is saved on here. So I'm nice and integrated. The way this works is that because the back end of List App is an open API, we're not trying to monetize, so we don't need to lock down access to that. And you can build whatever integrations with you like with IFT, or your own custom apps, or third parties can provide apps that tie in to funnel data into or get your data back out of List App. So in that way, it's open and allows you to work with the data the way that you want. All right, so with that, let's talk a little bit more about this. So List App is built to be extensible and to last. And so the backend of List App is a RESTful JSON API, because those are technologies that run on any platform. And so whether you use the clients that I provide or other clients that you build on the front end or a third party builds, or whether those technologies fall away and we need to replace them in the future, ListApp will still be usable and your data will still be there and be available. You can also write the backend in a different technology if you like. If you only just set it up so that it matches the contract, you can use the same front ends with it to get all those benefits. So right now, ListApp is set up just for single user use, and personal use is the target, but right now you need to configure boards when you're setting them up yourself. Eventually, we want to enable sharing. We want to enable so that you can give other users access to your board so they can put data in and make changes to it. You could give them access just to use it or also to configure it. We also are going to set up so that you can use board templates, so that if you like my LifeLog or Links or to-do list board, you can copy it, not the data, but just the template of it, and you have a board set up for you to put your data in. Then as you make adjustments to the board, you can share that template in turn if you choose to, so that other users can benefit from it. In this way, we're going to have an ecosystem of people setting up these interactive board applications inside of ListApp, sharing with others, so that we're able to use and work with our data the way we like, instead of being dependent on just doing it in paper or doing it in hard-coded apps. So what does this accomplish? What does this get for us? This allows you, using ListApp, to keep track of information, the things that nobody else has decided to make an app for. Maybe you have a really specific interest that there's just not an app for it. You can get a great mobile and web experience with a ListApp to keep track of that information and share it with others that care about those things as well. You're also not locked into the way that an app developer thinks about information. You can take a board and you can tweak it and adjust it. You have full access to do that without needing to be a developer. On the go, when you're there on your phone, you can make those changes anywhere because all the features are available on mobile as well as on web. Also, what this accomplishes is there's no ads, there's no surveillance, and there's no misuse of your data. One qualification is we do use Google Maps for maps on web and on Android, and so Google is going to see whatever data is required there or whatever they can get from you. We may change that in the future if the technologies we're on supports it. But other than that, your data is fully safe and secure. Now, this isn't the first time that someone's made an app like this. There have been apps like this in the past. HyperCard is a very early one. You have Microsoft Access, FileMaker. Bento was an iPhone app related to FileMaker, and even now there's a FileMaker iPhone app. So what's the difference with ListApp? One, the focus is on the personal use case, not on businesses. So we're keeping the feature set intentionally limited and simple and straightforward, so it's easy for any user to be able to configure their own boards. We don't need to address the use cases of the enterprise. There's other tools for that. Number two, it's available where you are, on web and on mobile. A lot of these apps developed in the web, in the desktop age. Maybe they ported over to web, but they aren't, maybe not, but they aren't a great use case for mobile. They don't fit it well. From the start, ListApp has been built, and the whole paradigm we've chosen of these columns is built because it works well on web. And so wherever you are, you're going to have access to your information in a user experience that looks great on all of those platforms. Number three, ListApp is open source and always will be. This is one of the core foundational things that I think about when it comes to these things. I want to ensure that we never have to build a platform like this again. If you think of a better way to organize information, great, build it from scratch. But I want to make sure that ListApp is always available for us, no matter what happens. No matter what happens to me, no matter what decisions that venture capitalists or companies make. So ListApp will be free and freely available in open source. I have some ideas for ways to make it available if it picks up interest, to make sure that we can pay for server costs and stuff like that, or support companies if they want help. But the product itself, all of the product, will always be open source and available, so you can host it yourself and have full control of your data. Number four, ListApp doesn't need to monetize. Because I'm building on really powerful open source libraries, I don't need this to be my full-time job. I'm able to do this on the side. And so we don't need to try to attract venture capital. We don't need to worry about how to monetize your data. That's not what ListApp is all about. It is all about just equipping users with what they need. So we don't have the pressure to monetize as a result of that. And finally, it's free to host yourself. You don't need to pay exorbitant fees to companies to do it. If you want to run it on a server, or if you want to start a business to run it on a server for others, you're free to do so. We are going to make the main List App Central application available. So that's what's coming up now. As you may have noticed as we went, there's still some single user features that need to be polished up. But once that's working in a good place and we have like the edge cases covered and things are relatively reliable, we're going to open it up for interested people to register for accounts on the central main List App server. So that's about where we are. One other thing I want to note is that if you're interested in programming, you'll note that this app doesn't have a programming language involved. That's an intentional choice. We may get there someday, but we are taking the philosophy of let's do as much as we can with as little as we can. The approach of what's the simplest thing that could possibly work. And what we found is that it's really powerful what you can accomplish in this app just by configuring actions with a few different drop downs rather than having to write software programs. That may come later when we find that that's useful and helpful. But one of the things that we do to keep this app maintainable on the side and usable for end users is to not require building, integrating, or working with a programming language. So that's about where we are with List App. I'm really excited about it. I use it every day for the apps. In fact, the apps that I've custom built in the past have now all been subsumed into List App, just about. And so I'm working out of here. I'm end user programming as I go. So I will keep you posted on whatever channels you're seeing this video through once List App is available. But yeah, thoughts, questions, ideas would be very welcome, but enjoy it. Thanks for watching.